Well, it's another edition of Weather Wagers here as we get ready for football season. I'm Brett Thackara.
And I'm Dan Tomaso. Welcome back to Weather Wagers, and welcome back to you, Brett, back home on the mainland, I guess as some people say.
I know. I was taking some of our viewers across Alaska and the Yukon.
So you were all over the place.
We were all over the place. We were very remote, but I'll tell you what. And then we finished the tour on a cruise ship. And I'm not a cruise guy, but I'll tell you, didn't really know we were on the water. And you know what I got to do?
Smooth.
You know what I got to do on that cruise? I got to go to the casino.
Got to go to the casino. So were you looking at some lines? Were you?
Well, unfortunately, it was not that type of casino.
Table games, huh?
Table games and a little slots.
Okay.
And this guy walked away up.
I was going to say, did you hit some penny slots?
I hit some penny slots and a little roulette, Mr. Dan.
Wow,
so
look at you. Living wild and free up there in Alaska.
Well, you know, I feel the call as a bit of a degenerate, but we got there. My wife said, I'm going to go to afternoon tea. You go to the casino.
Well, that's a split. Afternoon tea versus the casino.
Which one would you pick?
I think I would pick the casino. Although, I will say those little sandwiches you get at tea, very underrated.
Though they are. There was a couple of teas. I went to one.
Okay.
And the problem is you just keep eating them, you know, and then you balloon up. I mean, I think I gained 40 pounds on the Alaska cruise.
I will say, being on a ship long term, I was on a little bit longer than you were for my PhD work.
Yeah, that's true.
You do start to feel like all you're doing is sitting around, like because you're on a boat, you can't go very far.
This guy did his master's and doctoral work on oceans.
Yes, and so, you know, I was out at sea for about 2 full weeks straight. And yeah, I walked up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
And that was about it, and out to the deck.
Were they as scary as the Beaver Stadium stairs?
No, but I will say the confines, and especially the bathrooms, and if Beaver Stadium had showers, it's what I kind of picture.
Well, this was a little nicer.
At least in the Paterno era.
This was not a research ship. That's the nice part
Yeah,
about
you had some luxury. I did not.
And you know what my buddies and I are going to do on the first week of college football? So the good news is there's no big Penn State game that day.
Sure.
So
we can kind of relax a little bit.
We're going to watch Lee Corso's last ever game day. And then we're headed to the casino, and we're going to watch at the sports book.
Oh, nice.
So we want to check it out at Hollywood
Well, there's a
Casino.
lot of good games. I mean, we've mentioned it before on this show, that first weekend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, Penn State notwithstanding, but there's a lot of good games.
They've got the ESPN bet room up there, and we're going to go check it out. So I'm excited about that.
I know a great time.
That we're also excited about. Before we get to football stuff, okay, let's tell everybody how they can find us too, because again, we are back now.
Everywhere.
We are here on a weekly basis, and you can catch us here online at abc27.com, ABC27 News Plus, which is our new television app, right, for smart TVs.
Absolutely.
And of course, wherever you get your podcasts too, Apple, Spotify, Amazon.
And it's my goal so I'm the one who posts these things. You should see these Thursday afternoon. If everything's going well technically, you should see them Thursday afternoon. So if you're getting ready for a weekend slate of games, you're getting ready for a big, probably playoff implication weekend for Major League Baseball, it's all there.
You can watch, you can look, you can listen. So, you know, this podcast was rebooted, and we've been going through some preview episodes, and they've been good, but I also think that, you know, once we relaunched this, you were away. I've been away.
Yep.
Our audio engineer, Dave Shiner, he's been away. So we haven't all three been here to really
get
into the nitty gritty here. It is summer, and so we're working around.
This is like training camp. This is like fall practice.
We're putting in the playbook.
Right. We're installation.
Yeah, and like Jim Knowles' playbook, it takes us a little while, but I promise you, every week that you come back, it's going to get better and better as we find our rhythm again, because that's the deal, too. We had a nice rhythm going.
We did.
And we were told to stop, and we did.
We did.
And then we were told to come back.
We were told to come back in a studio space, which is great.
In a studio space, and now every week's going to get better.
Every week's going to get better, and everything's going to ramp up in intensity because, similar to how we started the podcast, Phillies are fully in contention. Penn State may be gearing up for their season of a lifetime for Penn State fans. And the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, I haven't mentioned this yet, I think, on the podcast. They won the Super Bowl last year.
They did.
And they're looking to repeat, which, how often can any Pennsylvania fan, I mean, I know the Steelers, one for the thumb and all that fun stuff, but, you know, this is rare air.
It is, for those three teams to be in contention all the time. It's been fun. Speaking of the Phillies, I do want to talk about them. We've got the schedule up for you, but before we get into that, I want to ask you, because a lot of the chatter has been about the trade deadline. And I was not here when the deadline hit, but what I did know was that we had a pretty good pickup. And I thought getting the the reliever, Duran, and then coming back and getting an outfielder.
Athletic outfielder.
Which, by the way, everyone said we needed, and everybody said we needed a bat. Maybe he's not the strongest bat, but he's a bat. And then, I'm reading, I'll tell you, when you're in the Yukon, you don't have
when you're in the Yukon.
You don't have a lot of Wi-Fi. Okay.
I was going to say, we heard from you sporadically.
I was standing on hilltops. And then all of a sudden I'm reading about how this Harrison Bader pickup was a whiff.
I never saw it that way. He was kind of, once the Twins started fire sailing, kind of the signals were there.
Is there anybody left in Minnesota?
I don't know.
We weren't the only ones that bought Twins.
And this week there's been an update, by the way. So the Pohlad family, who had owned the Twins for decades, was looking for a buyer. And now they've pulled out of that. I guess they didn't find what they wanted, so now they're looking for investors. So they might have had a fire sale.
That's interesting.
For nothing.
The last time Twins was this hot was when Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger were in the theater. I mean, nobody's talked about Twins.
No.
And now the Minnesota Twins are the team everybody's talking about, but not in a good way.
No.
But I don't want to talk about them. We're here to talk about the Phillies. How are these guys working out coming to Philly? And by the way, have you heard from Harrison Bader? Does he want to be a Philly?
I mean, it seems that way, right? I mean, you think, obviously, you want to get off to a hot start. Duran, obviously, has gotten off to a very hot start. I'll get into that in a moment. But Harrison Bader might not be the most attractive offensive piece, but he's stolen a home run already. His defense just looks different in the outfield versus what we've had.
Yes.
And that's no knock on Brandon Marsh. This guy is just more athletic than Brandon Marsh.
And do we still have Rojas?
Rojas is in AAA.
That's what I thought.
So he was demoted just to make room for Harrison Bader. And it's possible there could be some more moving and shaking. I know the fan base cannot stand Max Kepler. I truly do not understand it. I mean, the man was never going to hit 300 and drive in 100 runs. That was never the point.
I think he had sort of an attitude about him that maybe he didn't necessarily seem like he
Philadelphia fans don't mesh with that too well.
No, and he didn't necessarily seem like he was, wanting to be here all the time. But I will say, I think the team is behind these moves, and now everybody seems to be playing like a cohesive unit.
Yes. Now, the last two games of the Red Series notwithstanding, we talked about on the podcast while you were away, coming out of the deadline, how tough the schedule was. This is no joke. I was extremely impressed with Duran down in Texas against a very good Texas Rangers team that's in playoff contention. Swept them out and made it look fairly easy doing it. Now, obviously, they go to Cincinnati. I thought they could lose the Abbott start, which they ended up winning on Monday. And I thought they would lose the Hunter Green start, which they did end up losing. And this is obviously being taped on Thursday, so this was yesterday, Wednesday's game. Those were the two I was like, okay, they're probably going to drop 2 out of 3 in Cincy. Why? Why do I think that? Because if you look at the standings, the Reds are right on the Mets' heels. And if the Mets continue to lose games at the clip that they are, the Reds are going to be in the playoffs, and the Mets are not.
And the Mets, you called this downfall.
I did. Unfortunately, I did. And I say this out of respect to Mets fans. They were excited about their season, but you mentioned this before in the podcast. The starting pitching is what I called out from the start. And they
How long can it hold up?
Yeah, they cannot get a starter to last more than 4 or 5 innings. And no matter how good your offense is, that is not a winning formula whatsoever. I hate to say it, and it's a rough reality for any fan base that goes through this.
But part of the reason that you brought this up at the beginning of the year privately before we relaunched this was that you said, okay, they got their big star,
Juan Soto, $700 million plus.
But who else?
Right. I mean, I just didn't see the roster construction, and I think what happened is David Stearns, their general manager, looked at the team from last year that made a decent run into the playoffs and said, well, we can do the same formula, which is let's get cheaper starting pitching on shorter deals so we don't get locked into long contracts. And it worked last year.
Yeah.
This year, the cards did not all come together for them, and it's really making the team and the organization look bad.
You say that the Phillies have a tough schedule ahead. Let's go back to that because I'm not sure I totally agree with that.
Well, now it's getting better. It's evening out a little bit.
Well, yeah, you were talking maybe about the Rangers and the Reds, but we've
back-to-back on the road.
We've got 2 series against the Nationals coming up. I mean, if we can't at least split those games, then I mean, come on. We should be able to do that with the way that we're playing. What are the Mariners doing out in the American League?
They're the hottest team in the American League right now.
So that is going to be a tough series.
That is going to be a very tough series.
We've got to go to Seattle.
And
I just came from Seattle. That's where we end.
No, actually, it's a home series. It's
is it? Okay.
It's home, and
yes, I see.
That should. They're on a long East Coast trip. That should help.
Okay.
But their starting pitching is elite. They're right with the Phillies in terms of bullpen and starter ERA. But then coming off of that, we get the Nationals again. So it's one of these weird back-to-back series that Major League Baseball built in. You're seeing this across everyone's schedules in baseball. And then the Mets.
And then the Mets at the end of August.
In Queens.
Now we have not played well in Queens, but will it even matter at that point?
It's hard to say. I mean, last night the Mets could have gained another game, and they had their best starting pitcher, David Peterson, on the mound, and once again, he could not get through 5 full innings.
So right now the Phillies are up by how many games?
5 total games.
5 games.
Yep, 5 total games.
It was 5.5, so now 5 games. So, if they can make some hay against the Natties and even take 2 or 3 from the Mariners, listen, the Mets better watch out here. And even if we drop 2 of 3 to them, it may not matter as much.
And here's the deal. I mean, you know how it is in New York. The negativity is spiraling. And
it's worse than in Philly, I think.
Yeah, oh yes. And so if they drop even a game to the Phillies, you can almost seal it up. I mean, there's been so many playoff scenarios already playing out on Twitter about how many games the Phillies have to win. If the Phillies go 500 the rest of the way, the Mets cannot catch them.
Yeah. No. I mean, you're right. Now, let's talk about, give me that 2-shot here, Dan, because I want to talk about, and we'll get back to the schedule in a second.
Sure.
Your biggest positive of this team moving forward quickly.
The bullpen. The bullpen's been revamped, and you need a strong bullpen going into October. And I fully believe, yes, Wheeler is having some dead arm issue right now or whatever's going on, but the combination of Wheeler, Sanchez, and possibly a healthy and fresh Aaron Nola, plus a strong bullpen, I'll take the Phillies against anybody. I really will.
Well, I do think there's some questions. What's going on with Wheeler? How good is Nola going to be? Is Ranger going to be up to the task? I mean, we have some questions, too, about our starting pitching.
But they're there, at least, and they're not on the shelf.
No, and hopefully they tend to perform pretty well in October. It's the offense that doesn't, and that's going to be the biggest thing. So what's your biggest doubt moving forward about this team heading into the home stretch?
My biggest doubt is what version of Bryce Harper do we get? Because clearly when the man is hitting, and he was for about a month straight coming off of his injury, they're just a totally different ball club. I mean, you have him and Schwarber. Schwarber is having a historic season for a Philadelphia Philly.
He's going to hit 50 home runs.
Right. So you have him. If you have Harper, again, I put them against anybody, but it's a question mark because of Bryce's health and his consistency right now.
Yeah, no doubt. So the Nats series starts this weekend.
It's a 4-gamer. No breaks until next week, my friend.
I want to pull up. Let's pull up the forecast here because we want to take a look in D.C. for the weekend. I want to. Well, no. Let's do that. Let's go to that first because we're going to talk temperatures. We know it's going to be hot and humid, but Dan, let's walk through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's temperatures. Now, Sunday, remember, is a morning game. That's the Roku game. So let's show you what the temperatures are going to be here as we move into Friday. I mean, you're talking about highs, in the upper 80s?
Upper 80s to near 90, and if you factor in humidity, it'll feel like the low to mid-90s. I mean, that's the tough part. When you don't have a day off, the heat can play a role on a team.
Yep.
And get kind of stinky, kind of stagnant in the clubhouse.
And then Saturday, that's going to be an interesting one because that one's right during the middle of the afternoon, I believe, a 4:05 start.
Yeah, so another hot one, highs near 90, and then Sunday's the warmest day.
And
this
they
is
play early.
Yes, this is likely a mid-90s day with humidity in D.C.
So the early start may help them, but still, even at that hour, 11 a.m. or whatever it is, we're talking about a rough heat, almost a heat wave, but the humidity is going to be unbearable. But let's talk about the forecast because I do have some concerns tomorrow in D.C. as we look at this here for some showers. We're getting some easterly flow.
Right.
Along a stalled frontal boundary. Is it enough to delay the game? Possibly. I mean, some of these showers could be heavy. I think we want to keep an eye on that forecast for tomorrow night. And then Saturday, sort of the same deal. Right in that 4 o'clock time window, there's just enough unsettled weather. The good news on Sunday, Dan, is even though there will be some storms around, I think they're later. They're playing around noontime. I think they get the game in, but keep an eye on the weather Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real factor. And I've said this before. I don't think it matters what sports you're in. If there's some type of weather delay and you're the away team, I think you're at a disadvantage because you don't have all the amenities. Perhaps your traveling secretary, if you're a baseball team, has to order food or somehow keep the guys loose and ready. I just feel like, again, We saw it on Wednesday with the Reds game, and the Phillies came out flat after that hour-long delay.
Yeah.
I mean, they just didn't look as interested, perhaps.
Correct. So keep an eye Friday and Saturday nights in D.C. if they get any type of rain, and it is possible. If there are delays, that could work against this team, and we've seen it across multiple sports.
Right.
Speaking of that, you want to stay with us. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, it's football season. I mean, the camps are starting, the preseason polls are out, and we're going to talk about
My
Penn State.
anxiety level's rising.
Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about it all. Penn State and Eagles chatter right after this.
Season after season, ABC 27's weather team is here with your most accurate local forecast, preparing you for sizzling summers, wild winters, and everything in between. Other stations can make the claim, but since 2012, only one station has been proven to be the most accurate in the mid-state, certified by Weather Rates. Year after year after year. ABC 27 Weather, your most accurate local forecast.
And we're back. We had our baseball chatter here, and as promised, now we are all shifting our heads into football mode, right?
Yeah, we're going to morph here a little bit into Penn State talk, but also Philadelphia Eagles talk, because we're equally excited about both.
Yeah, and we haven't talked much about the Eagles yet, probably because I don't want to say we don't care about this year, but we have the Super Bowl now. Everything else is just gravy, right?
It's gravy, and the odds of repeating are always quite low. It's hard to do for a football
Unless you're
team.
Andy Reid and the Chiefs, I guess.
Right.
But we're going to get into that. But first, we do want to talk about Penn State, and this was a discussion that Mr. Shiner and I had. Well, you were gone.
Yes.
Okay, and so we want to bring up the schedule now, and we know the first 3 games are write-offs, or at least they should be.
Yes.
I mean, this team is loaded.
A preseason, if you will.
It is a preseason, and designed that way by Franklin. He said that we were not going to be playing teams like Auburn anymore. It's
right.
by design, and I think that there's that rift between the Big Ten, who plays 9 games,
Yep.
and the SEC. And
Has he brought that up before?
Yes, he has. But so have all the other coaches.
Yes.
They're definitely reading a script from Tony Petitti these
Right.
days. But, I get a little sick of the SEC crowing about the tough schedule. I think most of these schedules are equally tough. And I know that, people like Feinbaum and others want to say, well, your Iowas, your Northwesterns, your Purdues. Sorry, not gonna fly out here. Well, guess what, Paul? You've got your Arkansas.
I was going to say.
You've got your Kentuckys. You've got your Mississippi State.
Tennessee some years.
Yeah, Vanderbilt some years.
Yep.
Sorry.
And Florida's probably going to be better, too, in the SEC.
Well, Florida could be a playoff team.
Right.
If DJ Lagway stays healthy.
He looks like the real deal.
He does. But let's talk about Penn State. And one of the things Dave Shiner and I discussed while you were gone is, what games are we looking past? What games perhaps are on the schedule that maybe we're not thinking about? And so look at these games, Dan. We know what the tough games are.
Sure.
Okay. We know that the tough games here are, Oregon, right, on the 27th, Ohio State, okay, we know that, and then probably Iowa, because we're at Iowa, it's Kinnick Stadium.
Not just the probably. I think it is Iowa.
Well, because let's talk about Iowa for a second. They should be better, too.
They should be better. It's no longer the nepotism happening there at Iowa and their program with the father-son combo with the offense.
Showed signs of life last year.
It did, and I think they're hopeful that there might be more of a passing game. But even if there isn't much of a passing game, what does Iowa do best? Ball control and limiting an offense like Penn State to their opportunities on the field. And so this will come down to me, offensive efficiency. Andy Koldenicki, Drew Aller, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders in that game to keep getting first downs and not punt the ball back to Iowa, because that plays into their game.
Well, those tight sidelines at Kinnick, we don't know when the game will be. If it's at night, look out. But let's give James Franklin some credit here. And that's, by the way, that is a sentence that not many people say. And I understand Franklin's knock about the big games. We've lived that experience too. But Penn State is ranked number 2 right now. We're going to get into that in the AP poll. Penn State is one of the most consistent teams in the country. You know what you're going to get. Knocking on that door. At some point, you hope that the door busts open. But I don't think James Franklin gets enough credit. He rarely loses a game that he shouldn't. And may I just say, Penn State fans have PTSD from Iowa. James Franklin has handled Iowa pretty well.
Franklin has handled Iowa. My PTSD goes back to my freshman year. I think I've shared this story that my first exposure to the wild Penn State fan base in person was That 08 season, possible national championship run on the line. This was back in the old system, so you never know.
Clark, yeah.
Darryl Clark, and all of a sudden it's freezing cold in Kinnick. You have Evan Royster, the leading rushing champion right now for Penn State overall for his career. By the way, that could be challenged this year. There's been a lot of chatter about that by either running back.
Yeah.
And they just did not get the job done in Kinnick, and it derailed their season. That was a year they beat the Sweater Vest in Jim Tressel at Ohio State, but they didn't get the job done in Iowa. So that's always my PTSD. My other PTSD moment was the last second win in Kinnick in 2017.
Yep.
Back of the end zone. Trace McSorley to Juwan Johnson.
Yes.
Thank God.
Penn State came back.
Penn State came back and won.
He shushed the crowd.
He shushed the crowd.
So, let's talk about the Oregon game for a second.
Yes.
Okay, because I wanted to ask you this. The importance of getting a whiteout victory over Oregon, because not only, you look at the schedule, we've got that preseason, if you will, the run of 3 games in September.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got a bye week. Then we start the Big Ten, and boom, it's Oregon. I mean, there's no more time to break it in. You're not playing 3 lowly teams and then a Northwestern, then a Purdue. You're starting the Big Ten schedule with the team that went undefeated last year until the playoffs. How important is securing a victory that night?
Oh, I mean, go back to the Big Ten championship game. I mean, it was a hairline game. I mean, it could have went either way. Neutral site, obviously, in that case. But unfortunately, the Penn State offense and defense couldn't get it done. They could not stop Oregon with the defense the way it was. Now, again, different system this year. We'll see what happens. And the offense, I mean, they had the ball and a chance to at least possibly take the lead. Didn't get it done. So there's a lot of retribution here for what could have been. I mean, Penn State could have been Big Ten champions. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
But they could have been, and they weren't.
That was actually one of their better offensive performances,
it was.
Too. And the defense sort of let them down. I want to ask you that we do talk about wagering on this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's in the name right here.
Right there.
Weather wagers. I want to test you. I looked this up.
Okay.
What do you think the line of that game is right now?
I would say a 2 or 3 point advantage Penn State because it's at home.
Okay. Now, you have the right idea.
Okay.
But I want you to understand that if you take your PTSD out of everything, Oregon does have some issues, including breaking in a new starting quarterback.
Sure.
They have a roster that is in transition. Penn State has a roster that is fully loaded. If you combine that fact with your take of it being a home whiteout game, Penn State right now sits as a 6.5 point favorite in that game, almost a touchdown.
It's impressive.
Well,
it's very impressive.
Over a touchdown, almost a touchdown and an extra point. So
yeah, way too early call. Right. So we'll see how things play out, and who knows.
But I'm just telling you what Vegas thinks. They're a 6.5 point favorite in that game, and I think that surprises you.
It surprises me simply because I need to see it. And what's so difficult about this game is we're going to have no gauge leading into this where Penn State is. Are they going to put up 70 against Villanova?
Well,
probably.
Hold on a second, though. I think we'll get some idea. And what I mean by that is I want to see 2 things from this team. I want to see, can the defense stay as full throttle as it has been from
the Manny Diaz era?
From Manny Diaz to
Tom Allen.
And now to Jim Knowles. Now, Jim Knowles is the guy, but his system takes a while to get used to.
Well,
so if we can hold these teams to 10 points or less, I'm going to like that. And then I want to see, what do these receivers look like? How many receiving touchdowns can we get in these games? Now, I
think it's important to push it.
Yeah, because we knew, even in these early knockoff games, Dan, in the previous years, we knew the receivers were not stepping up. We had concerns, and we also had concerns about a few other positions, O-line in past years. You can get somewhat of a gauge even in these early games. If these new receivers come out and light things up, I think that you can't take it but anything but a good sign.
I would love to see some downfield passing threat leading into that game because you're going to need it.
You're going to need it. That's exactly right. Now, let's take this big screen here because I now want to go over some of the games that maybe are a little bit under the radar. Now, again, for those of you that have watched our episodes as we've been rebooted here, Dave Shiner and I did talk about some of these under-the-radar games, and here is what we both had to say. you've got to be careful of that game at UCLA, and here's why. UCLA is not great, but they do have a new quarterback, Nico, coming in from Tennessee, and we will not have left the state of Pennsylvania. That's the first time we're leaving the state of Pennsylvania. It happens to be a new month. We go to October, and we talked about the Mariners coming to the Phillies.
Yep.
Now we have to go all the way across the country. We saw, by the way, I think we were a better team than USC last year. We didn't play like it.
No, we were lethargic in the beginning of the game.
Did that game go into overtime, or we won it at the last?
I believe it went into overtime.
We won it, and so we struggled a bit. This game, keep an eye on it. Would you agree with it?
I would verbally retweet everything you said, because this was one of my concerns when I read this schedule and everyone's like, oh, this is so easy. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And in honor of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friends.
Yeah.
UCLA on the road is very, very tough, especially when you have younger athletes that are not accustomed to this travel. Now, they did do the USC trip last year, some of these guys. That may help.
Now, the good news is there won't be any audience.
No, there probably will be very limited audience.
They do not care about football in California, and they don't care about football. You heard Troy Aikman's comments last year. It's a shame, but this is not a fan base that is going to step up.
This would be where if they win against Oregon, I will be totally bought in on this team. If they win against Oregon and they have some momentum, I don't think this trip's going to affect them at all. But if it's sluggish and they lose that game, watch out.
Well, this could be a domino effect.
Right.
Is the pressure too much? We're going to find out. Now, another trap game is you go out to Ohio State on November 1st. That's an obvious tough game. Mm-hmm. You could even throw in an L already there because, again, we need to see it.
We do need to see it. So however, this has, if there's any year that something has to break right for Penn State in this matchup, you said it, it's a loaded roster. I mean, this is the year. Ohio State's never going to fall off a cliff.
Not be loaded.
Right.
And they're never going to fall off a cliff. But, yeah, they're breaking in a new quarterback. They have, let's not forget who their D coordinator is.
Do I know him?
You know him. Are you blanking right now?
No, I know who it is. It's Mr. Matt Patricia, right?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to remind our audience of that because
now,
this is the year to do it. But I'm simply saying,
he's an NFL guy.
Even if you write that game off as a loss, if that's our only loss, we're fine.
Well, and by the way, it's all about how you lose, and most of the matchups in the Franklin era have been within a touchdown or 10 points. So if you lose by a touchdown on the road to Ohio State, a lot can be forgiven. But then, it's not just Ohio State, it's the week after.
And that's why we've highlighted this sort of an under-the-radar game. Indiana, we don't know what they're going to be this year, but we know who their coach is.
I can Google Kirk Cignetti.
You could Google him, and he's going to say that he wins games.
And they showed me a lot last year. Now, they did fall a little bit flat in some of their big games, and we should have more athletes on the field than they do, but how beat up are we after the Ohio State game? How emotional that toll is, that game? At least it's at home.
Well, you have to understand, though, and I think people don't give Indiana enough credit. They came out and beat every bad team they played by a ton of points.
Yep, not even close.
They lost to Ohio State, so did Penn State. They beat Michigan,
yes,
who beat Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's not forget about that. And then they held with Notre Dame for about 3 quarters, and then Notre Dame pulled away. You know what? Notre Dame beat Penn State.
And pulled away in the end. Yeah.
Notre Dame was a national championship team.
That is correct.
So I think Indiana.
A lot of truth bombs today out of you, my friend.
Well, I'm just saying, let's give them some respect.
I totally agree with you. I mean, everything you're saying, I buy into and I respect, and that's why, to me, there are a lot of potholes in this season's schedule.
And another one is Nebraska. Now, that game is at home. Both the Indiana and Nebraska games are at home, and that's fine.
Yep.
But we've seen this team every once in a while play sluggish at Beaver Stadium. By the way, I think the time matters. Mm-hmm. If Indiana and Nebraska are noon games,
which if Penn State's on the run, we think they are, they could be selected for noon games. That's what happened to Ohio State last year, and the fan base was irate.
Well, and so the team could be sluggish.
Right.
And you come out sluggish against Nebraska. And again, Matt Rule is somebody I don't think is getting enough credit. He's got Dylan Raiola. He's building something.
He's trying to build something.
It takes time, folks. It takes time.
It does.
Folks. And I don't know what Nebraska is going to be this year. They could be a 6-win team. They could be a 10-win team.
Absolutely.
The point of the matter is, nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy.
Don't
Nothing's
take
given.
Anything for granted.
Right.
And these are the 3 games, in addition to the 3 tough games, that I think are going to be tough. So I think to end this up, Dan, let's once again mention that this is the year they've got to slay this dragon, right?
I think so, because unfortunately, if they don't, you know what's going to happen next. and it's going to be calling for James Franklin's head, which I don't think is totally fair because they wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for him.
Yep.
And I just feel like everything is aligning this year, but it's not just about this year. If you have another semifinal type of season or you appear in the national championship, that only helps next year, right? You just keep building, and that's what I hope happens this year. My memories of beating Ohio State in 2016 are just burned in my memory, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. I want that feeling again. I think I might be moved to tears if we beat Ohio State this year.
Well, and that's really going to be something because it's on the road, too.
It's on the road.
I think that's big, and I think, again, this is a roster that can certainly do it.
And they could breathe. If they happen to beat Ohio State, that weight is lifted.
Yes, and then who knows what kind of a run they
Correct.
Let me, Dan, hold on. Let's just take full screen now, the AP Top 25. Because, again, this year, by the way, I don't know if you saw this stat. I got it.
Yep, you're fine. You're good.
Texas and Penn State, number 1 and number 2, all right, separated by 5
I saw that.
votes. You know when the last time that happened was?
I believe when they made their run, correct?
No, it was 1998.
Oh, wow, 1998, so sooner than I
believe
thought.
I believe it was Florida State, and I forget who the other team was, but that was when Florida State was going on all those.
That might, or was it 99 when Penn State was number 2 coming into the year
That was
against,
99.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's when they had their run, and then they lost to Minnesota.
Yep, and then started that spiral, which I'll never forget either.
No, that was terrible. And again, they lost that game at home. And so, listen, anything can happen. That's why, folks.
You got to play the season. Got to play the game.
The season. Ohio State is 3. Clemson, they're expected to have a big
Who?
year. Notice there's no SEC teams in the top 4.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, Texas.
Sorry,
I was going to say.
I need to.
Disrespecting the Longhorns.
So sorry. Georgia's number 5. Then Notre Dame is 6. There's Oregon, number 7. So
and we're going to learn a lot about that team leading up to our game.
that is a top 10 matchup there. Bama's at 8, and keep an eye on them too. They could be. I don't want to say a surprise team because the logo
It's Bama,
helmet, but
right.
it's Bama. And again, I like Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a great coach. Brian Kelly taking on Clemson. You talk about, I think that could be the game of the weekend. Forget about Texas and Ohio State.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, the buildup is going to be huge because the last couple of years, Brian Kelly has played these key matchups early and gotten into an early hole.
And people have ridden him for that.
And piled on.
Do you think Arizona State and Illinois and South Carolina, 3 darlings from last year, do you think that they're ranked a little high?
I do, but it's recency bias, right? Every year we go into this that it's based on the previous year, and you got to let it shake out. But then again, what is Michigan? What is Florida behind them? SMU? I mean, those are total unknowns to me.
Well, SMU, I think, has Kevin Jennings coming back.
Yep. Well, and they put a lot of money into the program.
Brad Lashley is a good coach.
Yep.
I'm fine with where SMU is. But, yeah, we don't know how Michigan is going to be. They're breaking in a new quarterback. We don't know how Arizona State is going to be. Now, they return some of their guys, but they don't have Cam Scatteraboo.
Right.
South Carolina, everybody's buzzing about Lenora Sellers. That's fine. They still have to play that tough SEC schedule.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet.
And then the last 5, Lane Kiffin somehow finds his way back into the top 25. Iowa State, now let's not forget, there is
Cyclones.
A game next Saturday.
Yes, the Crow Classic, correct?
No. Well, yeah, in Ireland.
Yes,
right?
Yep.
Kansas State, Iowa State.
That's fun.
Who's going to be crowing there?
Well, remember what happened last year. Florida State went over to Ireland and never came back. So
you're right. I hope one of these. That's going to be a fun game.
It will be very fun.
We're going to pick that game and really get into wagering talk more next week. Tennessee, by the way, without Nico, we don't know what they're.
That's a blow. I mean, what a blow to the program. I almost feel bad for Tennessee fans because everything was kind of lined up in front of you to make another potential run and kind of starting over again.
I cannot wait. Next week, the podcast is going to be focused mainly on college football as we get moving. But let's turn our attention now to the NFL and talk about the Eagles. And Dan, I don't want to feel like you talk about being able to breathe. We won in 2016. Then the organization kind of blew up a bit, and not like other organizations do. You talk about the Minnesota Twins having a fire sale.
Yep.
You look at the Cowboys' issues. You look at so many of these organizations that just they blow themselves up and then they can't recover. The Eagles find a way to recover. We've done it under Jeffrey Lurie many times. We bring in Nick Sirianni. Again, there's grumblings about him from the fan base here and there. I don't know why.
All he does is win.
He's won. He got us to one Super Bowl, didn't win it. Now he got us to another one. The man is electric, right?
He's electric, and he gets the buy-in from the players, which is so hard to do in the NFL, and that's why you see so much changeover with coaching staffs.
Now, there's been some talk lately of injuries. What's coming out of the camp? You know more about this than I do because I've been away. You don't get injury updates in the Yukon.
No, you do not. You do not.
What do we know, and what concerns you right now?
First, the positives. Positive, they seem to be deeper at wide receiver this year than they were last year, which, hello, how can that be possible? But it seems like that's going to be a position of strength again, big time. The offensive line, a little bit of transition from Mekhi Becton to, who's going to be up front, and now Landon Dickerson got carted off during the public practice. Thankfully, it's not a tear of an ACL or an MCL. It's a meniscus surgery. I've actually had this minor clean-out surgery, and if I can get through it, I know Landon can.
Little scraping.
Little scrape.
Little digging.
Little digging.
You talk about, though, the success of Saquon Barkley last year was in large part because the Eagles' O-line.
Oh, Mailata and Lane Johnson at the tackles. I mean, you don't get much better than that. I mean, they're men amongst boys.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. That needs to be replicated for us to do what we did.
100%.
Now, do you think it can be?
I absolutely think it can be, and I think we'll get into the schedule here in a moment, but I feel like there's a lot of breaks in the schedule. I feel like there's a lot of good matchups, too. It really should be another fun year. And to me, it's about just staying healthy through the regular season and gearing up for that playoff run because it is very hard to go back-to-back. But Jalen Hurts is an interesting cat. And I think he's got the right mentality that he was just quoted saying recently, basically, I've achieved my dream. And now I know I can do it. And it's almost like that was the reassurance that he needed, that I can go out and win a Super Bowl. Now I want another.
Well,
and it just seems like the focus is there.
The pressure's off, and sometimes the GOATs, they play even better when they know that. Take us full screen with this schedule. Excuse me. Because I want to point out some games here. We open against the Cowboys.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, so I truly think the Cowboys are not even going to be much of a factor in the division. I could be totally wrong about that, but they keep running out the same roster year to year without much change. And I just think it's unfortunate if you're a Cowboys fan because you start out with almost no chance. I will also say, looking ahead beyond the Cowboys, it gets much harder against the Chiefs, but these are early games and should not matter all that much. Looking ahead then to the Rams and the Bucs, again, very two tough matchups. So the first month is very, very difficult, and it's certainly no cakewalk. It's not Penn State's 3 preseason games followed by Oregon. I mean, we are into the thick of it early, but then you get past that first month, and things really do lighten up with a lot of breaks in between. We get the Giants basically within a 3-week time span. We get the Cowboys again at the end of November. We get the Bears at the end of November. And then a little bit of a stretch run that we don't know how much it's going to matter. Saving a Bills game for the end of the season where it may not count other than for some potential seeding, I think is rather large. You okay there, my friend? Okay, I'll keep talking while you get yourself together there. So, again, some games I want to highlight. The Chiefs, Week 2, should be very fun. It's in Arrowhead. I really think it could be a big litmus test for the rest of the season. Looking ahead, beyond that, the next game is the Bucs the week after because, for whatever reason, Nick Sirianni's team cannot get past the Buccaneers, especially in Tampa.
Let me jump in here as I have an attack.
It happens.
Allergy attack. That's the game I wanted to highlight. We never play well against them.
Well, and even in our best years, we don't play well against them. That goes back to the Andy Reid era. So whatever their defense has that we cannot figure out, it's something to watch, something to monitor. We don't know what the Vikings are going to be. That could be a tough away game. But again, how much does it matter when you have the Giants sandwiching that? And then beyond there, I think the Packers is a fun game. On the 10th of November, that might be the last real meaningful game unless the Lions are nipping at our heels for first place.
Well, it's it's that opening stretch.
Yeah, it's very tough. I mean, that's not a way you want to open a season if you had your choice. So, again, a hard opening stretch there with the Eagles. If they get through that, I think they're in great shape. I truly believe outside of the Commanders, there's no competition in the division. So, looking ahead, I do think the Commanders are their top competition, in the division. In the overall NFC picture itself, it's probably the Lions and the Rams that we have to watch out for. But we got to let the season play out. There's always a surprise team or two. I don't think it's going to be the Giants this year.
What about the Broncos?
Broncos could be very good too. That's something to watch. Bills, again, at the end of the season, we should know a little bit more about them because they always seem like they need the last game or two, and we may not need it.
And so what about the Cowboys?
You have an owner feuding with your best overall athlete. It's not a good look. And they didn't do much to improve the roster. They have CeeDee Lamb, always gives the Eagles fits, but where's their running game? How about their defense? I think they've solved that bugaboo in the Nick Sirianni era. Easy for me to say.
Well, anything is easier for you to say than me. You talk about bad podcasting. Sorry, I sucked in air and I was done. Sorry, Dan, but
No, you're fine.
You broke the schedule down nicely, and I just you look at the schedule. Dan, I mean, again, the first 4 games. That's the schedule.
That's the schedule. It's kind of like 2 years ago when they went through that month stretch of playing every contender possible. It kind of happens early. Now, the Bucs may not be relevant by season's end, but you mentioned it and I mentioned it.
There is a bugaboo for the Eagles, and it doesn't seem to matter who the coach is. And then you look at that next stretch, which is, to me, the next toughest stretch is after the bye week. Packers, Lions, Cowboys. And I know we say, but they're still a divisional foe. So that's what I wanted to ask you. What divisional foes are you worried about, if any? Certainly not the Giants.
I think it's literally just the Commanders.
I mean, we certainly didn't feel that way at the beginning of last year.
No, but Jaden Daniels is the real deal. He seems to win with a lack of weapons. Now, they also have a contract dispute with their top wide receiver, Mr. McLaurin. So what does that mean for the rest of the season?
Is anybody in a dispute with the Eagles right now? Is everybody happy?
Well, that's the thing. Howie Roseman does his homework and gets ahead of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, he always seems to sign guys before these issues pop up, and perhaps it's because that whole front office went through the Terrell Owens situation. But, I mean, we have A.J. Brown.
How long they've been around.
Right. I mean,
think about that.
That's a successful organization. Yep.
That's a successful organization that puts the needs of the whole above the needs,
And when it got ugly with Carson Wentz, they brought in Jalen Hurts. I mean, it really is just a phenomenal job. And a couple of years ago on this podcast, I said they might be the new New England Patriots of the NFL, where it's a very well-run organization and there's no nonsense. And they go out and they win.
Well, don't forget about the Chiefs. You could argue they are the next
yes.
Patriots. Maybe we're the next Chiefs.
Maybe.
And that's how you have to look at it. But I want to just, if you had to look at that schedule, who's the toughest team we play?
I'd say, to me, it's probably the Commanders.
On that whole schedule?
Yes.
What about the Bills? What about the Lions?
The Bills' timing, I'm not convinced is going to matter very much.
What about the Lions?
Lions do not scare me. Lions, without Ben Johnson and all that creativity and all those razzle-dazzle plays that seem to make a difference in their games, I think we started to see the true form of the Lions toward the second half of last year, where they couldn't close out games. They just don't have as much talent as the Eagles do.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, sure, they're going to be contenders in their own division, but they don't personally scare me much.
Well,
maybe I'm wrong to think that way, but
the Commanders are sandwiched in there those last couple of weeks too, and so it's just, you might be right. The timing there stinks.
Right. The timing with the Commanders is going to be rough, but hopefully by that point, if you stack up wins early, it really takes some of that pressure off late.
Yeah, well, you're right. So anyway, thank you, Dan. Breaking down the schedule as I had an allergy attack. I don't know what that was. I mean,
it's happened to me too. I mean, while you were away during the 5:30 half-hour a day break, for whatever reason, I could not talk one day, and then I was fine after that.
Yeah,
can't make sense of it.
Through the segment.
I did
because it just sometimes. But that's why we're here together.
Yep,
right?
That's right.
And we got through it. So, final thoughts, Daniel, as we look ahead here, because I believe that it's such an exciting time of year.
It's an exciting time of year. I go back to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are right in the thick of it. It's everything you could want as a fan.
Yeah.
I truly have a lot of mixed emotions about Penn State. I feel very confident about the Eagles. I truly feel this is going to be a year to remember, and I'm so glad that we have a podcast to celebrate it all. I think we're in for one heck of a ride.
Well, and we want to hear from you. So let's show everybody what we got here. Again, we have an email account. You can find us, weatherwagers@gmail.com. We need to check on that. Ask us questions.
Ask us questions, segment ideas.
We'd love to have a mailbag episode.
And we're going to bring back probably some fun wagers between the two of us. So if you have any ideas there's still a dunk tank outside. We might be able to incorporate that before it disappears.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I've been in there every Friday morning. We have fun around here on these programs, and we'll have to come up with something fun. But there we are on all of our social media. And don't forget, download for your smart TV ABC 27 News Plus, because that's really the key to watching us too. And we're on YouTube as well. So That's a lot of fun. But Dan, I think that's a wrap for today, right?
I think that's a wrap for today. Again, big episode next week. We have our full complement of staff back, so the three of us.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about matchups for week 0 and probably tease ahead a little to week 1 as well.
Football season's here, baby.
It is here. It is hard to believe. I am going to be glued to televisions on the weekends between college football, NFL, and sandwiching the Phillies in between. It's going to be a fun ride.
It's going to be a fun ride, and we're going to keep tabs of the weather. We're going to keep tabs of the wagers, and we're going to be right back here next week.
Thursday. So look out every Thursday. Every Thursday afternoon, you'll see a new episode. Have a great week, everyone. We'll catch you then.